UFC 305 is around the corner, and it is looking like a really nice card. Would have liked a better co-main event, as Usyk versus KKF is a fourth fight down the pay-per-view kind of fight, if you know what I mean. And an extra early prelim would have been nice. Just two, I guess, prospects from the regional scene, just to showcase them. But still, I ain't gonna be too picky. The main event carries. It's got a bunch of ranked fights. Yeah, it's good overall. It needs some breakdowns and picks, so let's get to them. Starting with our main event, Plessis versus Adania. I'm going to go with Dricus du Plessis. I just don't see what Israel Adesanya has for the style of Dricus du Plessis. His main, I think, asset in this fight is going to be his jab and his ability to circle off from his jab and bring the fight to the center and then 1-2 and then slowly start to double up on his left hand with a jab hook type of combination or something like that. But other than that, I just don't see what else he can do. His kicks aren't going to work against du Plessis. I mean, head kicks, du Plessis' guard is high all the time pretty much. His hands are right by his face. Even the body kicks, even when du Plessis throws his shots like his jab and shit, that right hand is tucked by his body, completely shelling off from kicks. And now to the low kicks as well. I think du Plessis has that kind of style where he has that Strickland-esque ability to lift his lead leg to just, completely shut off any chance of Adesanya building up like he has done on previous fighters. And like a style like Adesanya's, who's constantly on the back foot looking for counters, ain't gonna do it against a guy like du Plessis who pressures and can find shots like Whitaker and Cannonier have, like in moments. They can land those shots. Even Strickland too. He hit some nice left hooks as well in that fight. And yeah, that forward pressure is just going to be too much. And against Dricus, you need to have that forward pressure. We've seen guys in the UFC, the guys who have had moments against them have been the ones who have pressured du Plessis. What was it? Darren Till in that second round. Strickland in their fight. Even and sadly Derek Brunson in that first round. He had a very good moment early on. And that was because he was moving forward. Adesanya, regardless of his talks, which you can't even take them into consideration because he hasn't lived up to his words. For the majority of his fights. I think Pereira 2, Paulo Costa, and Derek Brunson. Those were the times that he's fully lived up to his words. I don't think he was really shitting too much on Whitaker. It was kind of respectful banter back and forth in their first fight, which he got that spectacular knockout against him. But still, you can't really take in Adesanya's words into consideration until he consistently puts on some of these performances in which he's hyping himself up to, saying he's a new dog and all that kind of bullshit. But still, yeah. And that's, by the way, all those things that I said, that's just the striking. You have to completely take in the grappling because I did say right here, third round submission. Du Plessis shoots the kind of takedowns that Adesanya does not like, and those are blast double legs. We saw Jan Blachowicz do it, Vettori in the third round, Whitaker in the third or fourth round. I know he had the back in round 4, but there was one takedown that was just a fucking blast double leg from a mile back, and it landed on Adesanya. And even Pereira, when he shot the single, but then he turned it immediately into a double and dumped him over. And du Plessis, we saw against, Strickland, he shot in a bunch of blast doubles. Darren Till, before the sequence of the fucking rear naked choke, he shot in a nice blast double on him. And yeah, it seems like that happens to Adesanya in the mid-round. So that's why I'm going round 3. Could be round 4 as well. But yeah, it just happens in the mid-rounds. His opponent Adesanya's opponents, they just catch him and they blast him with a nice double leg. And a guy like Dricus du Plessis, he's a bit more of a composed kind of grappler, I feel. He will try to hold position on you and Adesanya will give you his back. And a guy like Dricus, who takes I know he wants to make a statement out of Adesanya, but if he gets a chance to submit him, he will, and I will, you know, favor that on the ground for a guy like Dricus. So I'm gonna say it's gonna be even for the first 2 rounds on the feet. It's gonna be Dricus marching him down, Adesanya poking out the jab, and maybe a takedown here and there from Dricus landing, but Adesanya springs up. But then in the mid rounds 3 or 4, I'm going with 3. Dricus latches up, rear naked choke as Adesanya gets taken down. This time with more kind of an emphatic approach from Dricus, just a fat, sprinting, rugby style takedown on Adesanya, and yeah. It's going to be good for Dricus. He's going to get his title defense, and he's most likely going to be fighting the winner of Whittaker Chimaev. But hey, no, forget about that stuff. We're just on predictions. Now, Kara France versus Steve Erceg. I'm going to go with Kara France. And let me just put this into perspective this way. Steve Erceg and his position and this style of matchup against a guy like Kara France reminds me of Dominic Reyes versus, Jan Blachowicz. Like that kind of, timeline where Dominic Reyes should have beaten the champion, Erceg should have beaten the champion, and then, immediately soon turns around and fights a kind of grizzled vet in Jan Blachowicz, which Kara France is to the flyweights. And what happens there? He just gets knocked out. And I think it's going to happen here as well. And not even just because of that. Looking at their styles, Steve Erceg's last 2 fights have been going well for him against Schnell and Pantoja, because those are guys who will move forward kind of aggressively, or without, with disregard to what Steve Erceg's going to throw at them. Kara France is a bit more composed, and I think you will find the shots better. And for the majority of the fight, I think he's going to be on the back foot and wait for a guy like Steve Erceg to pressure him, and then he's going to just wing one of those overhands and catch Erceg after an even first 2 rounds, I'd say. An even first 2 rounds. I just think he's going to put a nasty combination, wobble Erceg, put him down, and then knock him out. I know it's, flyweights don't usually get knocked out unless you're Matt Schnell. But I just think it's going to happen because Steve Erceg gives off Dominic Reyes vibes. That's how I see this fight going. Yeah. I mean, even in the grappling, if Erceg wants to grapple, we've seen, I know he got controlled by Albazi, but he has good abilities, Kara France, when it comes to the grappling. He can survive, he can scramble, and yeah, Erceg's not the biggest grappler. He is big for the division, but he's not the biggest grappler, per se, but yeah. I'm going to go with Kara France with the 3rd round knockout as Erceg begins to be a bit more aggressive, and he finds a counter shot. Now, Gamrot versus Hooker. Safe to explain, I know Dan Hooker's been looking pretty hench recently, as you can see on his social media and stuff, with the tattoos and everything on Showcase, but a guy like Gamrot, immediately, he's devoted to the game plan. He's going to shoot in on the takedown in the first round, immediately into the first round. I think Dan Hooker will survive it, but seeing Makhachev immediately get his arm as he got taken down shows a lot that, a guy like Gamrot, who we've seen chase these kind of submissions like he did against Jeremy Stephens, I just think he'll do it again here. Maybe a straight arm lock rather than a Kimura on Dan Hooker's long, lanky arms. But yeah, I just don't think Dan Hooker's going to have any moments in this fight. He's pretty hung back. He has that lead hand out, just awaiting the shot. He's looking to, throw his right hand and stuff, which Gamrot can immediately duck under and go for the takedowns. I just don't see, Hooker being able to catch him with a knee or something as well. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Gamrot, second round submission. It's just a safe pick. Like, yeah, 90% chance Gamrot gets it done. So, yeah. Now, Tuivasa versus Rosenstrike. It's just a sad reality for Tai Tuivasa. Sucks to be him, really. Yeah, like he has had one good win at heavyweight, and that was against Derek Lewis. Looking back at his whole career, I mean, he has knockouts and stuff. He did knock out Stefan Struve, who knocked out Miocic like a solid 7-8 years before, or something like that. An older version of Stefan Struve. Yeah, just like I don't think the leg kicks are gonna get to it. The pace at which Tuivasa has been fighting these last few fights, looking to get in like exchanges and knock the guy out. I think Rosenstrike's gonna be composed for the majority of the fight, like he was against Gaziv. He has good output, a good enough output to deal with Tuivasa. I just think he's gonna eat the leg kicks and 1-2 Tuivasa around the cage, get a 29-28 decision, and yeah, it's gonna be clear but close at the same. Like, it's gonna be like 2 of the rounds are gonna go to Rosenstrike, and 1's gonna go to Tuivasa. I feel I don't know which ones, but I just see that playing out. I don't think these guys are gonna gas because of their paces. Because of the paces they put on like in their fights, they're not gonna be too aggressive. It's gonna be laid back heavyweights, like out at range. Tuivasa throwing leg kicks, Rosenstrike throwing 1-2s. When Tuivasa throws those leg kicks, and yeah, Rosenstrike, biggie boy decision. Now, Li Jingliang versus the chain smoker Carlos Prates. First of all, I hope Li Jingliang pulls out the suit, and they better have him at the press conference, but I just don't see, him being able to do much. He struggles against long-range strikers. Even Daniel Rodriguez, I know he got robbed in that fight against Rodriguez, but Rodriguez, normally a pocket boxer who likes using hooks and stuff, he was mainly using his jabs and rights to keep the leech at bay. But yeah, like, he struggles against rangier fighters, does better against the guys who like to throw hooks and stuff, like Muslim Salikov. I know he's a kicker and whatnot, but when it comes to the striking or the boxing, that is, Salikov likes to throw those hooks rather than the straights for the majority of the time. Pieced up by Neil Magny's long, lanky arms, and Carlos Prates, the long-ranged, composed Muay Thai striker who even has the knees and stuff that he can use. I just think he's going to get a decision. I know the leech can grapple. He sometimes does, but he never really gets any control off of those takedowns. And I think a guy like Prates training at the gym of the fighting nerds, he's just going to, handedly piece up Li Jingliang and get a nice 30-27 decision. In my opinion, potentially a body shot KO, or TKO that is, but I think he's a safe lock, as the grappling of Li Jingliang nor his striking is going to be up to, or it's not going to be enough to deal with a guy like Carlos Prates. Now, Junior Tafa versus Walter Walker. Feature prelim. Interesting that they put this as the feature prelim. I'm going to go with Walter Walker. If Mo Usman is controlling you up on the fence, Walter Walker, I know he struggled against Lucas Brzeski, but he can take guys down. He's a caveman. He'll evolve, and he'll take a guy like Tafa down, KOing the GOAT Parker Porter. I don't think it's enough to, show yourself off in this kind of way. So I think Junior Tafa is just going to get nicely, humped like a polar bear by Walter Walker and controlled out for 3 rounds. Yeah, 30-27 decision for Big Vault, the caveman. Kulaba versus Ramos. I'm going to go with Ricardo Ramos. Uh, just being the better striker at bay, at range, and stuff. Like, Josh Kulaba, he has had wins in the UFC, and he had a 3-win streak, 2 losing streak now, but like he has moments and stuff, but outranged he gets like outranged and pieced up by strikers like Melsic Bagdasarian. He got one little sequence and that's how he got the rear naked choke finish, but he was getting pieced up for that fight. And it's Danny Silva too. I think he used a bit more of the grappling, but still he survived Kulaba's striking. And the other guy, Lerone Murphy too, he used takedowns as well against Kulaba. And Ricardo Ramos, he gets guillotined, but he can take guys down. He can be good at range on the feet as well. I think he'll get the decision. I'm just not making this one a lock as, in an odd chance the striker Kulaba latches up a guillotine. Like, Ricardo Ramos has been susceptible to in his last 2 fights. 2 first-round guillotines is a bit insane, but I think he'll get the decision here against Kulaba. Now, Casey ONeal versus Luana Santos. In the odd chance that Casey ONeal has improved, which I don't think she has whatsoever, you gotta go with Luana Santos. First round sub. She sticks to the game plan. Immediately, she knew Maria Agapova has horrible grappling defense, and she immediately jumped on that. I think we just saw ONeal's ground game exposed by Lipski. She had a chance to get out of that armbar. Like, the leg was there, but then she just let Ariane Lipski put her legs in the right spot to submit her and tap her out with that armbar. I thought she had a great chance to get out of that submission, but still, the Luana Santos, good striking, decent enough striking. I don't think Casey ONeal's flimsy striking is gonna be a problem at seeing as an old gal like Roxanne Modafferi. I know she's improved a bit since then. I mean, she had a decent scrap against Jennifer Maia, but even she hit her for a majority of the time. Roxanne hit her. Luana can survive that. I just think she's going to quickly dispose of ONeal on the ground. I'm not making this one a lock because maybe she improved and Santos on short notice doesn't do her part in winning this fight, but still, I'm going to go with Luana Santos. First round sub, rear naked choke. Yeah, now Jack Jenkins versus Herbert Burns. This doesn't need a breakdown. Jack Jenkins, good boxer on the feet. Herbert Burns doesn't know what the fuck's going on the feet. First round TKO after he hits him with an early shot. I mean, yeah, Herbert Burns can't put his BJJ to use. What more of a breakdown does this need? Herbert Burns is going to get clapped. Now, Tom Nolan versus Alex Reyes. For some reason, this is worrying because Tom Nolan's striking defense has to be by far one of the worst in the UFC. Great output. When he gets going, he finds the right shot with his long-ass frame, but Alex Caceres can throw some hands to some extent, but no knockout threat, I think. And yeah, I just think Tom Nolan is going to catch him early before getting clipped by a guy like Alex Reyes. I just don't see it happening. I don't see Alex Reyes getting a win in his career, an 0-3 career upcoming for Alex Caceres. Tom Nolan, at long reach, just going to put one on Reyes' chin. He's going to stumble, and then another one puts him down. Yeah, it's a lock. It's going to be a knockout either way, I think, even though I just said Alex Reyes doesn't have the best knockout ability, but Tom Nolan's striking defense is abysmal. But I think he's going to put his 1-2 together and put this dude down. So yeah. Now, Canan, Australia's finest versus Ricky Glenn. I don't know why Ricky Glenn is moving up to welterweight, seeing as he's been getting put away recently at lightweight. Canan, good striker, can handle like the volume of a guy like Ricky Glenn, as he just did with Rolando Bedoya. He put him down in that fight. I think he's going to put down Ricky Glenn in this fight after kind of, you know, the same fight. It's going to be the same fight as Canan versus Bedoya. I think with Canan winning more dominantly and bloodying up Ricky Glenn. And I think just like how Ian Gary built up the damage on Canan in their fight, I think Canan's going to do the same to a guy like Ricky Glenn. And yeah, I just don't see Ricky Glenn doing anything to a guy like Canan in this fight. And yeah, third round TKO. Easy lock of the card. And yeah, I think Jack Jenkins is the biggest lock on the card, by the way. But still, this is it's a certainty too. And now, I guess the opener of the entire card, Stuart Nicol versus Jesus Aguilar. Jesus Aguilar, I mean, in his last fight, he got spam takedowns by Mateusz Mendonça. He has guillotines on his record. But the way that Stuart Nicol he dives right into your crotch and he takes you down and he grabs your legs, not allowing like a guy like Jesus Aguilar, who's most likely going to be looking for the ghillie, to wrap him around you. He just dives in for the takedown immediately and looks to pass. Great ground and pound ability from a guy like Stuart. And yeah, I think he's going to decision a guy who relies on, guillotines as a submission. He's just going to decision him out. Could TKO him on the ground. Even could go for a submission. That's not his biggest forte. I know he attempts them and stuff, as I saw in some of his regional fights. But his ground and pounds where the money's at. And I think he's just going to ride it out. Copy and paste rounds 1, 2, and 3. He's going to take the guy down, control him. They could potentially be on the feet for a couple of minutes, but Jesus Aguilar, I mean, he has a decent right hand. Not decent, but a good enough one to potentially clip Stuart Nicholson like he did against Shannon Ross, but I just don't see that happening. Very small likelihood of that being the outcome of, Jesus Aguilar knocking this dude out with a right hand. I just think Stuart Nicol is going to take this guy down and control him out. And yeah, 14-2 on the last 16 main events, 5 of 5 on locks. I'm starting to build some momentum, and I think with this card and with these locks, I think it's going to be a good, another good night in the office for me. I think Plessis is going to get it done, going to improve my main event record, and yeah, these locks are for sure hitting. I don't see it not happening. And yeah, those were the breakdowns. And peace.